Welcome back to Matthäus Modern Monday Showdown, covered by Cardmarket. That's us. I'm Yamin Kauf. I'm accompanied by Torf Severin, Mythic Champion. As his title, it never gets old.
Well, I get old.
Yeah, you get old, but your title really doesn't. We're moving through the top 8 slowly. We've just covered, Simon and Andrea Mengucci as our main and backup feature match. Those have finished. There's another quarterfinal still going on. But with the results we already have, let's take a look at the bracket as it stands right now. There's still one quarterfinal outstanding, which is Victor Bunza on Omnath versus Florian Böhme on Amulet. But apart from that, Amulet Titan takes down Enchantress 2-0. The Glimpse deck pilot by Simon takes out Merfolk 2-0. And then the only 2-1 is 5-color Zoo versus Vivian, where Andrea has unfortunately lost the match. But that means we get to see more sweet 5-color Zoo action. And with this state of the bracket, we can now already bring you the first semifinal, because why would we be messing around with, moving the quarterfinal around or anything? No, we'll just give you the semifinal straight away. So we'll soon head into the match between Simon Nielsen, who's on this 4-color Glimpse combo deck, versus Florian Böhme on 5-color Zoo. So a lot of colors in that match, I guess. Blood Moon would be having a huge impact. But before we go down there into the feature match, we'll bring you back into the booth once more, because we've had quite the day of Magic so far.
Yeah. So many different archetypes and interactions. Modern is such a crazy box full of different cards and different possibilities. We had the metagame breakdown, which had the most played deck at 11% or something ridiculous, and then so many more on 7 and 8, and it's been great to see the new interactions, all the new decks evolving. It's beautiful.
It really is, because after Modern Horizons 2, a lot of people were kind of the opinion that Modern, it's broken now. It's gone. There's not a lot of variety and stuff. But what actually happens is that we settled into a metagame where interactive decks can interact, and combo decks and beatdown decks can still flourish and live through that. And that's kind of the beauty, and that's also what we've seen today, right, in the earlier rounds.
Yeah, you have a lot of tools that whatever you right now is very strong, you can interact with on your basis. So that means you can always keep something in check, but then leaves room for other decks, right? So we saw here a lot of the decks use a lot of multicolor theme, a lot of strong cards. Maybe a good burn deck could have been a good choice for this metagame.
Maybe.
We see here the actual really burn deck, 5-color burn, making a deep run into the tournament.
Yeah, that's true. Apart from that, once again, to recap, if you've only been joining now, this whole tournament is the final, basically, of a league that has taken place over the past weeks. I don't know exactly how many weeks they ran this league for. Usually, Berlin Modern players would gather on Mondays, to fight it out. And over time, they accumulated points, and their best finishers played today. And to spice things up, we, Cardmarket, decided to add some pros to the mix. We invited Mythic Champion Eli Loveman. We invited Simon Nielsen. We invited Andrea Mengucci, also Mythic Champion, just to up the stakes a bit and have more exciting games even still. So that's what we've been bringing you all day. If you're looking for deck lists or written coverage, the bracket, if we're not showing it on the stream right now, then go ahead and head on over to Cardmarket Insight. Where there's the top article currently is the written coverage of what's been happening today, the top 8 deck lists, the bracket, basically everything. And otherwise, we've been covering things here on this channel as well as over on Instagram and Twitter, kind of giving you the live updates, behind the scenes, what's going on. But I'm excited for this match. The Zoo versus 4-color crazy pile thing that's going on. Do you have any... I don't want to overestimate your ability to judge a new deck off the top of your head, but what's your thought on the matchup?
I'm pretty sure nobody can overestimate my ability to judge. It's going to be tough, but I really want to see Simon actually doing all those infinite loop things. Right now, which really speaks for the deck itself, right? You're playing a deck, and instead of really comboing off, Simon does like half of a combo and then just wins on the spot.
Yeah.
Now, I want to see it like, oh, he needs to pull this off right away, otherwise he dies, and oh my god, 14 cards flip, and it's like 7 Risen Re-Assault. It's like, I want to have this kind of game, see?
And we've had those today. Dude, the games today have been crazy. But
I didn't see it. So far, I only saw like attack with Wave Sifter, play Outburst just for the 1 point of damage.
That's the best. Playing Violent Outburst for additional points of damage. Let's see if he can do it again as we head into our feature match, where we're going to see 5-color Zoo take on 4-color Glimpse combo midrange. We don't know what to call it yet. I'm sure the internet will come up with a name sooner rather than later. So here we are in the feature match area, and the first land drops have been made with Simon on the play playing a Colony Garden, now deploying a Cavern of Souls, and that's a Wave Sifter, right?
That's 5 permanents on turn 2.
That's 5 permanents on turn 2, and that might be reshifted into new permanents next turn. Is that something that Simon might be looking for, or will he deploy the Risen Reef in his hand for sure?
Actually, depending on how bad your opponent is pressuring you, I think taking 1 turn off again to play Risen Reef, having 1, maybe even 2 more permanents from the Risen Reef, and then doing it for 9 with the land drop. We've talked about like the card, the number you're doing it for gets exponentially better.
Yeah.
So doing it for 5 or 6 is okay, can be very good, can also be pretty bad. But as soon as you're hitting like the 7, 8, 9 spot, it really gets juicy.
Yeah, that's also kind of the spot where it can't go wrong anymore, can it?
Really hard, yeah. It's pretty difficult to miss. We had Simon on, I think, 10 or 9 cards to have like a near miss, and that included an Omnath and only lands and something, and Risen. I think Risen Reef, Omnath, and like 7 lands.
Yeah, but even still, you're getting a Risen Reef trigger, you're getting an Omnath trigger, you're getting 3 landfall Omnath triggers.
It's pretty hard to miss.
Yeah.
Especially also pre-board, you have some Fables, that means next turn you're gonna draw some more cards. It's quite rough. Wake Sifter gives you clues that you can use again if you get like a something like just good board state, some furies, some endurances.
So Florian started off slow with the tap land, of course, but now this is exactly what his deck wants to do, right? This is 5 basic land types in play on turn 2.
Unfortunately, I have never seen a Sign of Draco. I really wanted the card to be on turn 2. That's such a cool card.
Yeah, but the terrestrial Kavu still hitting the battlefield. Now, I think Simon might not have a red source to even cast the Violent Outburst if he wanted to. I think there's only Cavern of Souls and 1 Colony Garden in play right now. Yeah, there's nothing. He can't deploy the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. He can only evoke Fury, and that's not going to cut it. So Simon kind of suffering from his mana base here. Now he's taking...
I think... So the debate is if you really want to kill the Kavu with both of the Furies, right? This seems like a waste, I would argue. Worst case, you're going to get hit by the Kavu, allow one of the triggers. That's going to be fine. What I'm really looking at is next turn, in case you do draw the red mana, you can evoke both of those Furies and then instantly outburst.
Oh, no, you can't. You can only do it in response to 1 Fury because
Fury
they are sorcery speed.
You're right, absolutely correct. But then you can at least play 1 Fury, keep the other one in hand for after.
Yeah.
And then maybe kill like a second creature. Like, for example, if there's going to be a Mantis Rider next turn, that's 8 points of damage, pretty decent. But that's also 8 points of toughness, which pretty neatly gets cleaned up by 2 Furies.
Yeah, exactly. So, Toffel here of the opinion that you should probably keep those Furies around for another turn. Simon's still debating that because he might just be a bit afraid of that Kavu, and
I'm not quite sure why you're afraid of the 5/5. Like, what's the reasoning behind pitching 2 cards into 2 Furies to do that? Oh, of course, it's an elemental. No, that's a great consideration. My bad. Obviously, you get the trigger, and that makes it much more relevant.
Yeah, so now you're not pitching, you're not giving up 4 cards for nothing. You're giving up 4 cards to take out the Kavu and draw 2 cards. So in the end, it feels like a 1-for-1.
It feels like a 1-for-1. Well, you spend 2 cards.
Actually 2-for-1.
But actually, more importantly, you do get access to that red mana because Risen Reef gets into play tapped. You could circumvent them by not choosing to put the lands into play next turn, but you really want to have your land drop before, like, also in addition. So.
And this is just a beautiful spot for Simon. You're not facing down any pressure. You're at 20 against an aggro deck, and you're gonna glimpse into 9 permanents next turn. Yeah. 9. That's maybe maybe 10.
Maybe even 10 by a land drop.
Maybe 11 with Colony Garden. Who knows what craziness can come out of Simon's deck.
But 9 should be more than enough.
That's way more than the sweet spot you mentioned earlier, Toffel.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah. I mean, Simon should be saying we're welcome because Simon is giving us this show.
Yeah, I want to see that miss that blanks on 9 cards. That would be a good show. No, I actually want to see it. I'm sorry, Simon.
Oh, but Toffel jinxed Simon already.
Yeah, we do want to see the 9 fetch land hit. That'd be so glorious. Imagine that. It's really fun when you're looking at it from the outside.
Yeah, and not facing it down like Florian is right now, because Florian fetching again, not having any board state. It's turn 3 and your opponent has 9 permanents in play and you're just sitting there like, what happened?
So what's the best option Florian can come up with? 3 mana.
Domri Raid?
No, that is Shardless Agent.
Shardless Agent.
Into probably one of the burn spells.
Maybe another Kavu, a Ren and 6.
Okay.
Alright, that takes out the Risen Reef. That's 1 less permanent.
Pretty okay. Not greatly making a difference, but one down is one down.
When you say that the number of permanents increases in functionality exponentially, that also works the other way around, where taking away taking away 1 permanent achieves a lot. Now, of course, Simon fetching with both lands probably to float as much mana as he can before going into his combo, and I'm here for it. This will be a mess of a board state very soon.
If you hit 1 additional land, you can actually go again because you just drew another Cascade spell. So you're going to lead up with the Shardless Agent because after it resolves, you have 1 more permanent than the other way around. So we're going to at least see the spin twice.
So now that's 5 mana floating, Shardless Agent hitting the stack. Is there going to be enough colored mana?
You have red and green floating, that's fine.
So, yeah, that makes sense. So now, red and green floating.
As we can see, one of the caverns named Human. Alright.
First card off the top. That's how you play the game, Simon. So that's 8 permanents. Only 8. How unlucky. Only 8 after Ren 6 took out the Risen Reef. So now that's 8 new permanents that are going to be added to the board immediately. Give it an old shuffle, and then it's time to spin the wheel. Let's see which 8 permanents Simon can get. Of course, the biggest hits are the elementals like Fury, Risen Reef, Endurance to shuffle in his own graveyard, and last but not least, Omnath. That one, of course, also greatly synergizing with any lands that enter the battlefield, because Omnath does see all the lands that enter the battlefield alongside him here.
Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Risen Reef.
Risen Reef, Land, Fury, Omnath, Shardless A. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Simon, this man had a career. I mean, he still has a career. I'm sorry, but.
So, how many triggers?
In total, I mean 6 from Omnaths.
No.
No?
8 from Omnath.
Oh yeah, 8 from Omnaths, 1 from Fury, 4 from Risen Reef.
And, not to mention...
the Colony Garden.
Exactly, beautiful. Now you have to stack all of them in any order.
You know the best thing about this Toffel? You do know the best thing about this Toffel.
Yeah, what?
We're gonna do it again.
Yes, we're gonna do it again.
Although maybe Simon could decide that this board state is good enough for him now. To
Yeah,
leave
but then again, we're here on coverage and don't want that.
yeah.
You know,
Um,
he's got to think of the viewers.
if one of the draw triggers of Omnath draws into a land, he could also just play that land, keep up 3 mana, and if he wants to, if he feels like it, he
No.
can fire off a violent
No,
outburst at instant speed.
Don't even try to put that into the universe. No. We're doing it again.
All right, we're doing it again, according to Torolf Severin. And if a mythic champion says so, then we're
You have
surely
8
doing it
mana
again.
floating, like plus whatever you have. Please don't tell me you're just passing.
I mean, yeah, you do have 10 mana floating.
All right,
And now we're going to the Risen Reef / Omnath
So-
triggers.
draw.
I mean, it depends on how Simon stacked this. Funnily enough, just outside the door, Simon talked to me about how he always stacks the trigger.
1. Yeah, endurance. Wake Sifter. Oh god, that's so many
It's
cards.
ridiculous.
Look at that. Another endurance. Was that 4 cards?
He also already put a Temple Guard into
yeah,
play.
so
All
it's
right,
nice
we're
to
doing it again, guys. We're doing it again. Everyone at home, settle in, get yourself a nice cup of tea because this is going to be the same thing once again.
Yeah, but you can already see we started with 8, right? So as of now, there are 9. And this is not where it ends.
No, because there is that wave sifter,
Yeah, you're
that's going to add permanence.
You're gonna play land. You're gonna evoke the Wake Sifter, which is 3 more, and it's gonna be glorious. The only thing that's kind of really sad is Florian's already at 6, so we only really need like 2 more Omnath triggers to win.
Yeah, so sad.
It is sad.
That is sad.
Can't you have like 20 more life or 50? We want to see this.
Of course, the Omnath in play isn't going to deliver those triggers, but how is Simon going to get access to additional Omnaths?
What do you mean? You just reshuffle them from your graveyard.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about.
Okay. So technically, I mean, let's say your opponent somehow gets infinite life. You can do infinite damage. As long as your deck size is as much as what you shuffle in and out, you're basically just going back and forth. And then you just do the same thing again.
Yeah, so the plan is to reshuffle the graveyard back in with Endurance at some point because, you know, the cards in Simon's library are limited. So that's what he's doing right now, casting the Endurance. Now he can either shuffle them back in before or after the Risen Reef trigger, won't really make a difference because they do get shuffled at the bottom of the library. But either way, Simon is restocking his deck here, then drawing another card off the Risen Reef, and then he's doing the dance again, the Violent Outburst dance. Handy. Handy. That's another Omnath off the top. Endurance being cast, I think.
This is all evoked.
Oh, this is evoked, exiling the Omnath?
Yeah, because you're doing the instant thing.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So now Simon is stacking the evoked triggers. He's explaining that for the Colony Garden, adding another 2 permanents.
So just to reiterate, right? We started the first loop at 8. How many do we have now? 20?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, I think, if I'm counting correctly. Oh, no, I didn't count it's 19. Maybe 20 if the mountain down there is in play.
Infinite. All right.
There's the Glimpse. Play the same song again, Toffel.
Yeah.
So now, Simon, count your permanents, please, and then shuffle them into your library. What do you think? How good is Florian's next turn going to be?
None.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to say.
It does feel kind of bad for Florian here. He played an okay game of Modern. He had 3 turns.
He cast a 2-drop.
He cast a 2-mana 5/5, followed by Shardless Agent that cascaded into Renin 6.
Yeah.
How is that not, like, the Renin 6 even took care of a Risen Reef. That's a really good interaction, but it by far wasn't enough in this case. As Simon shuffles his library to reveal the top, I think it's 19, maybe it's more, I don't know, maybe I miscounted. A lot of cards are going to enter the battlefield again, and at this point it's impossible for him to miss fully.
So, the quickest way is there are going to be 2 Omnaths and 3 lands.
Yeah, if there are 2 Omnaths and 3 lands, what happens?
Well, you deal 8 damage to your opponent.
Alright, yeah. So 8 damage, obviously enough. with your opponent down at 6.
All right,
Let's see.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
1 Omnath.
Ding.
So Toffel, while Simon is stacking out his permanents, how does it work with Omnath being legendary and 2 Omnaths in play? Does that work?
It does work. So all of them enter the battlefield at the same time. Once you get the first time priority, you have to choose which of the legends you keep. But all of the triggers that come from permanents entered in the battlefield will happen and go on this stack regardless of what you choose. So they come into play, they see all the lands coming into play, trigger as many times, but only 3 are relevant. And then after all of those triggers go onto the stack, you choose which one to keep where everything already happened.
Yeah. So the triggers do go on the stack. And as we move into sideboarding, let's take a look at deck lists here, starting with Simon's. Simon's deck list, pretty straightforward, 4-color kind of mid-range game plan, except there's this Cascade thing built into it. Cascade, of course, allowing you to cast a card spell that's cheaper than the Cascade spell. In this case, all the Cascade spells cost 3. And the only spell that costs 2 mana or less is Glimpse, which means that every time Simon cascades, he does get the Glimpse. As for sideboarding, we have the Foundation Breakers that we've seen. Is it called Foundation Breaker? Mm-hmm. That we've seen put in huge work earlier. It's an elemental that when it enters the battlefield, it destroys target artifact or enchantment. We've got 1 Force of Vigor. Is that a Fire Ice?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
Dead Gone's Fire Eyes.
Dead Gone, Fire Ice, Mystical Dispute, and 2 Subtleties. What do you like in this matchup, Toffel?
Depending on what your opponent is bringing, you bring the Foundation Breakers. Like if they bring such things like Torpor, right? Or any artifacts or enchantments that deal with your game plan, then you want to get rid of them. Foundation Breaker being a permanent is the supreme choice here. Otherwise, you kind of only want to survive. If you need to kill some creatures, for example, Hushbringer, you can bring in Dead Gone. I'd say there's not much to board here. You can maybe bring in 2 of the Dead Gones just to have some removal spell for your creatures, although they don't have 2 toughness, so not great. I can see easily just boarding 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah. I mean, players are playing with open deck list at this point, and if you at home also want to watch with open deck lists, just open up Cardmarket inside the actual newest article on the blog. Will feature all of our top 8 deck lists, so you can have a look alongside Florian and Simon as to what you would board. Now let's move on to Florian's side of the sideboard. Wow, what a play on the word.
I just wanted to say that Chad actually rightfully so points out that Breaker doesn't have against Torpor Orb.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Good catch.
Yeah, but let's take a look at Florian's side of the board, as he also will have to, I don't know, have a sideboard plan going on.
I'm not quite sure that sideboard actually allows many of the sideboard plans. The most interesting card I can see here is maybe Teferi, because Teferi leads to not being able to cascade into the Glimpse, but being obviously quite easily to destroy with Fury or with attacking. So I'm not quite sure that is as stable as you want it to be. Rest in Peace kind of holds off the combo to the point where you make the Glimpse not be able to come back as you exile them while they hit the graveyard. But as we've seen, don't really need more of 1 or 2 of those iterations.
Yeah, so what you're predicting is a game 2 where both players are kind of running back the same kind of configuration as beforehand?
Yeah, you don't really want the Path or the Assassin's Trophy, Cindervines, all of those doesn't really make sense. You can board in the Fury. I can see, since your deck, like if you looked at the deck list, the 5-color Zoo actually decided to not play any 1-drops.
Yeah.
And play Hidetsugu's Consumes All.
Yeah.
So for you to actually maybe get up some of those speeds, you can board in the Furies to kill some of the plants, some of the Risen Reefs, the Omnath maybe.
I mean, just reducing the board size at any cost seems like it might be worth it.
Yep.
Right now, players are still shuffling up for game 2. So in the meantime, let's take a look at the updated bracket, because our other semifinal did finish in the end. We've got yeah, that one already happened. I'm sorry. We've got Victor Bunzer and Florian Binder finishing their match with 4-color Omnath taking down Amulet Titan. So there will not be an Amulet Titan in the other semifinal. A mirror.
Yes.
There will not be a mirror, but instead it will be the same matchup for Victor that he just beat in the quarterfinals, right?
Not the worst sign, you know.
Running it back in the semis. Hopefully he learns something from the quarters so he can make his way into the finals. But right now, we're with the other semifinal, which is Simon Nielsen against Florian Böhme. 5-color Zoo versus 4-color combo Omnath Pile. That deck has to be the deck of the tournament, in my opinion. Like, that deck, Simon's deck is so crazy and innovative. I know that he like brewed it up on the way here and was really excited to play with it. And when we were recording this week in the Cardmarket studios a lot, he was between like recordings and stuff. He was sitting there on his laptop playing on Magic Online, playing this deck, like kind of optimizing it, learning the strategies for it, and it's paid off now. He's here in the semifinals already.
Yeah, you have to learn all the different timings of the deck. You can see him getting better. Like there is also, spoiler alert, gonna be a recording on Cardmarket eventually down the line where he plays this against Hammer Time, Eli Loveman, and you can see his brain working out all the intricacy of the deck, and now it's kind of just motions for him, you know. He played like 15, 20 Magic Online matches, really got like the idea on when to time what to play around.
Yeah.
And yeah, as soon as you're like overwhelmingly bored, like your board state gets to a point, you just go into the combo, and it's quite powerful, as you see, basically a turn 3 win.
Yeah. Yeah, in the best of cases, it is. Funny that you mentioned the Cardmarket YouTube channel where, you know, we upload those feature matches of, for example, Simon Nielsen versus Eli Loveman. Mm-hmm. You against Eli also played, right? There's going to be a bunch of good content on there. Yeah. So you might head over there and subscribe.
Yeah, the next month is going to be insanely filled with Andrea, Simon, Arne, Eli,
Toffel, me.
Yes. Many of the goodies playing like some cool formats, some nice innovative ideas. We did a flashback of Eli and my tournament winning decks. It was quite fun.
There's going to be great content on there. I brought a really janky Pioneer deck that I played against Eli.
Awesome.
Also, we're going to upload all the rounds of this tournament on there, so you can go back and rewatch them. If you didn't catch all of them, maybe if you didn't catch the early rounds of Simon, if you're just joining now and you want to see the other games of this crazy 4-color combo deck, 4-color combo deck, then go head on over to YouTube, Cardmarket Magic, and subscribe there, because there's hella content coming your way. But now, players, we're starting game 2. Players are drawing their opening hands. And I already see a Risen Reef, Colony Garden. Although it's only a Colony Garden with the Steam Vents, maybe that's not enough to warrant a keep.
I've seen Simon keep worse. Like in this tournament already. The quarterfinals was some janky keep.
I mean, if you missed the quarterfinals and that janky keep, maybe subscribe on YouTube and you can go back and watch that later on. For now, we'll see if Simon decides to keep this one. Funnily enough, both players are playing Shardless Agent, but it feels like they're playing completely different cards.
Yeah.
Like, these Shardless Agents are not equal.
So the one side Shardless Agent says 3 mana, 2/2, deal 3 to 5 damage.
Yeah.
Which is pretty decent. And the other Shardless Agent reads 3 mana, 2/2, win the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you decide, you know? Everybody their choice.
Alright, as we see an end of turn fetch from Florian, obviously working out that 5-color mana base is crazy complicated. Like, honestly, I would often probably make mistakes with that, because you kind of have to juggle around the domain thing and
Well, you basically have 2 fetch lands fetching one of the tri lands and the other shock land, and you're done.
But then you have to cast Lightning Helix, and that might not always be the case. And torrential Kavus and all of that. It's not as easy as one might think, Toffel. As Florian fetches not a Triome, but instead a Shockland, a Steam Vents. And we'll see if that enters untapped or tapped. Apparently it's entering untapped as he's already on 17.
Is there a reason to do it untapped? Yeah, no.
Maybe end of turn Lightning Bolt? No.
No, I think...
That's Shadow.
And this is kind of interesting. So we know that the deck is very needy in mana, right?
Yeah.
Here's what you have to puzzle on Simon's side. Your opponent didn't fetch for one of the triomes, which means they're going to need exactly this color combination. So right now, they used red. They knew they had the basic forest with the Bajadian hand. So that means, A, if you remember the deck list, maybe there's no triumph that does red, blue, X. So there could have been a triumph that does, I don't know, red, white, black, I think is in the deck. The opponent values blue over black and white, right?
Yeah.
So what do you need blue for, especially for green? Shardless Agent. So you could basically bet up in your head that one of the opponent's hands is probably Shardless Agent.
Right, as Florian, did he must have drawn that, right?
Or Teferi in that case. Draw what?
The Triumph, because he would have played that on turn, I guess, no, because of the Shardless Agent.
No, because then you couldn't cast... yeah, you couldn't... No, actually, you must have drawn that, because that also cast the Kavu.
Yeah, alright, but by now the Kavu is a 4/4.
So maybe playing the land was a little bit hasty, because if you draw an untapped land, you can play somebody else.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's a forest, so it didn't change much.
Yeah, you couldn't have cast that Teferi. That being said, Teferi will come down next turn, and Simon right now is not looking like he's gonna outburst this turn, so that Teferi might be able to hinder that a bit. That being said, if that Teferi ever goes to 4 loyalty, Fury is just gonna clean things up, because Fury does have the ability to deal damage to Planeswalkers, so Teferi kind of needs to stay at a high loyalty to be a protection against the Glimpse Cascade, right? And I assume Simon also knows about this, since they do play with open deck lists, and yeah, all of that. So Simon taking his first fetch of the game.
But at least you make your opponent have Fury, because if they don't, and Teferi is protected, you're at least safe from that.
For sure, for sure. I mean, if Florian is that next level, he can also just not draw a card with Teferi. It might be very attractive to clean up a plant, draw a card, but if you just plus Teferi, then you don't ever open yourself up to a single Fury, as long as Simon doesn't have his own board state going on, right?
Sure. And if you cast a Wake Sifter, it flies, so maybe you can't even block it or something. But Risen Reef, ooh, that's so good. Yeah, get the engine going. I mean, also within the deck, this is night and day difference, right? Back then, on turn 3, you were dead. But now, there's a Risen Reef putting a land into play.
Yeah.
We see Florian boarding Force of Vigor. I think that's in his hand.
Is it? Maybe it is.
I'm not quite sure.
I mean, we talked about this during sideboarding. Reduce the board that Simon has at all costs.
So
and
you basically
one
just
of the
play this for 2 clue tokens?
Apparently, it's a counter for Wave Sifter. And that Fury being expanded right now.
Yeah, again, getting the free Risen Reef trigger, which is great.
Yeah, but that might spell doom for the Cascade spell in Simon's hand. That being said,
Omnath is great.
Now we might just see the other half of Simon's deck. Simon's deck is just a regular 4-color mid-range deck. Apart from the Cascade spells with weird combo stuff going on, suddenly it's Risen Reef into Omnath, and you're just outvaluing your opponent at every corner.
Yeah, the mana really didn't line up perfectly here for Florian, so that means many awkward turns, including not casting anything turn 3. And the burn spells were kind of stranding in hand. You do have, I think, 6 points of burn and now a Bloodbraid Elf. So, no, you only have 3 points of burn and a Shardless Agent, yeah. So, you probably have to hope to find something decent. I really don't like playing Teferi here just like that.
At the same time, like if not playing Teferi and then next turn Simon just goes like put some permanents on the board, glimpse, it feels so bad. But yeah, playing Teferi here is not a winning line either. Like it the value engine that Simon's deck is just crazy.
Teferi kind of naturally dies to Omnath and a few lands, which is a bit sad.
Yeah. Especially if Omnath trigger will trigger the Risen Reef. If the Risen Reef reveals a land, then that's an additional land trigger for Omnath, possibly making it so Simon will even, get the 3 land trigger off of Omnath this turn.
And you can even cast some elementals after you got the mana. So it doesn't mean that you have to exactly hit it.
Yeah, you will have additional.
What do you have in hand? Another fetch land, yeah. So you're going to play Omnath.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to trigger the Risen Reef and the Omnath.
I can't take it off. Oh my god, the value.
Omnath is a hell of a card.
It's ridiculous.
Right. Trigger Reef.
Alright, Reef.
Both are blanks, but you drew another Risen Reef.
Oh, and now with the fetch land, first trigger.
Take 4, gain 4.
Gain 4. Second
Fetch.
Trigger. Gain 4 mana. And with that 4 mana, there's gonna be a Risen Reef. So what does the game look like at the end of this turn, Toffel?
If he is able to put an land into play, Teferi takes 4 damage and gets killed off by Risen Reef. So everything you tried to achieve didn't work. And then, you're untapping with Omnath next turn. Probably not going to be good.
Yeah. That being said, there's not going to be a Cascade spell this turn because the mana that Omnath generates does, fade away after the phase. So we will have a great setup turn, but not quite the payoff. But at the same time, I don't see how Florian will deal with the setup that Simon does. There's 2 Risen Reefs. All right, maybe you can Fury both of them away. Then there's still an Omnath and a plant token. So that's like a total of 7 permanents. There's a Wave Sifter in Simon's hand. That's going to be 2 more permanents. At that point, we've arrived at 9 permanents, and that's once again above the threshold. Yeah, that's the land.
That was the money card.
Down to 1. Risen Reef.
And then you still have to fight against the combo. You're still threatening all those lands that are put into play.
Absolutely ridiculous. As Simon will be heading...
Yeah, just a classic evoke for 2 cards.
Yeah. Simon will be heading into the red zone rather soon to get that Teferi off the table using his Risen Reef. But before we do that, how about some more Risen Reef triggers? And
here you can see how needless the sideboard cards are, right? You sideboard in Foundation Breaker, which happens to be an element and do the things you want and be a permanent, it's like crazy stuff. All right, well, your board is gone.
Time for turn 5.
And
I mean, Florian can do nothing against this. He might even, deal with Risen Reef or something, but it's just not going to cut it when your opponent is already sitting on like 11 permanents on the board with a Cascade spell in hand. Yeah, that's just going to be the game. Simon will only go through the motions, and the motions with this deck are fairly long.
Yeah, just going through the motions of the next 5 minutes spinning your deck.
Yeah. We will see Simon pick up his deck more often than not, basically shuffling it all the time. There's multiple instant speed evoke creatures in his hand. There's another Risen Reef.
I'm not quite sure there's actually an evoke spell. Not a Cascade spell.
Oh.
So he first has to find it, which is,
Wait, isn't there a Violent Outburst?
Not quite sure. Maybe he exiled it for the...
Toffel, did someone ask for more permanents on the board? Because that's exactly what we're getting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, can I have more permanents, please? Yes, with the tomato sauce. Thank you.
There's at least 1 glimpse in hand.
It's a bit disappointing that Coney Garden doesn't make an elemental.
And there's for sure there's a Shardless Agent that I saw. So there is a Cascade spell. And Simon,
yes,
hit it. We all want to see it.
I mean, at this point, we're just gonna do something else, right? Need some time in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Now's the time for a quick bathroom break. Come back and see how the board has changed. Maybe take a screenshot right now and then compare it to a screenshot you take in 2 minutes. Where
you can go eat a coffee, buy a pizza, do your laundry, hang your like close,
Yeah.
and then when you come back, maybe we're on the next iteration of this loop.
There's a bunch of mana floating. There's a subtlety. There's a wave sifter. Probably, depending on whether there is a violent outburst, most of these will be evoked.
Both teams tried hard today.
I mean,
it's all tied up. Fun to fun.
It's all tied up. Fun to fun. That being said, Florian Böhme did put up an impressive performance with his 5-color zoo deck list. We saw him take down Grixis Shadow earlier. He made his spot into the top 8 like confidently, and he also managed to advance through to the semifinals by beating, which was it? Andrej. I mean, he beat a mythic champion on his way here.
Twice.
So still, congrats to Florian Böhme.
Wait, you're doing like this is over?
I'm treating this as if it's over, maybe because it almost is over.
Simon passed the turn, I think.
Did he?
Yeah. Just sometimes you have to pass the turn, you know. It's hardly anything.
Is there no glimpse left or something?
Maybe he boarded down to 1 glimpse. You think? I think he's just a little bit tired and just wants to not do all of it.
That would be hilarious. Simon, why did you do this play?
I mean, yeah, he's at 5. You basically just have to put 3 more lands at the turn and just attack. I'm fairly sure this is going on. He just finds the quickest round with the least resistance.
Someone in chat redeemed apparently an old points reward called poster check. Shuffle, sit up, please.
Oh, fuck.
As we're going through the motions of this semi-final between 5-color Zoo and 4-color Omnath value. Florian fetching down to 5 already. It's impossible for him to come up with a game plan that beats the thing that Simon is doing, because yeah, what's he gonna do? Like, how is he gonna deal with the board? Fury can deal with, you know, parts of it, with the parts of the Risen Reef, maybe some plants, but it's not gonna be lasting anywhere.
Hey Simon, do you have any plans for today? Yeah. You see?
Yeah.
You made so many plans. Wow.
All right. I mean, Florian can play out his hand, but it's.
Jamie, you have to drink. Chat redeems hydrate.
I'm gonna comply with that one, but I'm not gonna comply with any further ones. Just putting that out there, because those are probably a leftover of like old Cardmarket streams.
Those are the rules.
I mean, yes, I'm complying.
Wait,
with this
can I redeem something?
No.
I have some points.
All right, we see a Shardless Agent hitting into a Terrestrial Kavu. And now I think a second Kavu being deployed as a backup. I mean, yes, that's an impressive board, but look at Simon's board. It's just more impressive. I hope we get to see another glimpse. That being said, Florian is already down to 4 life. So any third land drop does it for Simon. And I think that's kind of also what he realizes, and he doesn't want to go through all the motions of glimpse again.
No, you're just gonna play lands, attack.
Yeah, it's gonna be enough.
Does Omnath count for each turn or each of your turns? So you can actually trigger Omnath in your turn in your opponent's turn as well? That'd be great. Because Endurance lets you actually do that. Endurance, Subtlety, with
of
Risen
course.
Reef.
The Risen Reef, it does count for any turn.
All right. Sick.
So maybe Florian actually dies at the end of his own turn here.
I've talked about the possibility before of this deck being capable of killing instantly.
Yeah.
And this is not the case where you actually
at this point, Simon's just playing combo deck. He's cycling Endurance into Subtlety, which he can then evoke 2. This is just a straight up combo deck. This is Storm.
And this is actually a combo deck. I mean,
yes.
You would classify as like maybe a semi-weak mid-range hybrid combo deck, but it's like 80-20.
All right. Subtlety being pulled to the front here. Never mind. Is that another Endurance? It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, Simon just has to hit some lands at some point. There's one.
Ding. Take 4.
And no, I don't think that was take 4 yet. I think that's the take 4 land, and that's the semifinals. So Simon Nielsen,
Well done.
moving on to the finals with, his kind of self-brewed 4-color crazy combo glimpse deck. Congrats to him, and I'm excited to see him play in the finals. Still, congratulations to Florian Böhme. He put up an impressive show today with his 5-color domain zoo. We saw some tribal flames on the floor being cast, but his run ends here today. So best of luck to Simon in the finals. But for now, we'll be making our way over to the backup match, as the other semifinal has started by now. We've shown you the bracket earlier. This is basically a rematch between the quarterfinals between Victor Bunza and Florian Binder, because it's once again Amulet Titan against Omnath. So that's what we're taking a look at next. But I think, all right. I just got word from production that they just finished their game 1. It's 1-0 in the favor of Amulet Titan. So we'll be covering their games 2 and 3.
So we can see maybe the deck list from those.
Yeah, we can take a look at their deck list. Maybe.
Hello. Whew. Welcome.
Welcome back to the booth. In the meantime, while we set things up for the backup match, deck lists, the feature match itself, because we've got limited space to work with between quarter and semifinals, we welcome you back to the booth, and we're happy to have you along for Matteo's Modern Monday Showdown here at Spielfilm Musik in Berlin, Germany. Matteo's Modern Monday is a tournament series that has taken place over the past weeks, which is like a weekly event on Mondays, where Berlin Modern players have gathered up and their top finishers are competing today. And as Cardmarket, we decided to push some pros in there. We invited Andrea Mangucci, Simon Nielsen, and Eli Loveman, all accomplished players, to join the players competing here. And it turns out they all performed really well. They're pro players for a reason.
Yeah, I think all of them pretty much made top 8. Andrea fell, Eli fell, and now there's Simon left in the finals.
Simon repping the pro brand, but we're ready for deck lists. So let's take a look at the 4-color Omnath deck list, piloted by Victor Bunza into the top 8 and now into the top 4, and looking to get into the final, but he's gonna have to, put in work, because he's down 1 game against Levin, who is on Amulet Titan.
Yeah, which looks like a pretty standard Yorion 4-color elemental good stuff deck, right?
Yeah,
the deck.
There's the interaction, there's the value, and then you just kind of play your straightforward game plan. This 80-card deck has an awkward time sideboarding, doesn't it? Because being the 80-card deck, you don't have that much of an impact with each single card you swap out.
Yeah, I kind of used to say sideboarding on 80 cards doesn't matter, which obviously it doesn't. I'm not.
It completely doesn't. No, of course it does, but it has a lower impact. And now let's also take a look at the Amulet Titan deck list, which looks to be a fairly standard Amulet Titan deck list. It
plays Amulet and Titan.
Yes. Amulet and Titan and Bounce Land. This version does play Sunhome.
Mm-hmm. Some people cut it recently, like being not really like in the loop of needing the double strike. They play like Garrison instead or something like that. It's pretty much like a flavor choice.
Yeah, but, of course the double strike kind of giving you less explosive combo kills. But at the same time, you don't really need those when you attack with the Hasty Titan. Getting the lands is all you need, really. Like you don't have to rely on the double striked Titan to kill your opponent. So our players are still shuffling up. Of course, sideboarding a bit more difficult with open deck lists. Well, not more difficult, but more time intense, because you will take a look at your opponent's sideboard, at your opponent's deck. You can deliberate over your decisions.
Depending on when you see those deck lists.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you only have 1 minute at the beginning of the match. Sometimes you get them in between. Probably top 8. As we do it here, you get to see them within sideboarding and before and after. So you got to know exactly what you need, what your opponent brings, what you want to change out in. I mean, with your already 80 cards, really doesn't matter. You just shuffle random 14 cards.
All right. And I think we're ready to head into the feature match area, as our players have sideboarded and are now on their way into a game 2, which I'm sure that 4-color Yorion, that Victor will begin.
As a reminder, there are no face cams for this one, as this is on the second feature match table. And this table doesn't have face cams, so you kind of only see the main board, but that should be good enough for us.
Yeah, you can see the battlefield, but you can't see the players' emotions flashing across their faces. All right, so heading into game 2, what do you make of the matchup in general? We saw Omnath being defeated by... No, we saw an Amulet Titan deck already being defeated in the quarterfinals by Victor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's the general trend of the matchup?
I think Amulet is favorite because they kind of present some problems that Yorion is not really equipped to deal with.
Yeah.
When you play kind of around your opponent's mid-range game plan of killing your creatures, of trying to defend via damage and life gain, they can kill some of your creatures, right? But in the end, if the game goes long, you have multiple Valakutes on your battlefield. You trigger some of those effects multiple times with the Dryad, with Azusa, with Titan. It's going to be quite rough to deal with it.
And then Victor needs to have the right answers at the right times, kind of, because...
Exactly. That being said, once you get rid of all the permanents, like if you don't let the Titan do its thing, if you can get rid of the Dryads, then the Titan deck is kind of a funky, comes into play tapped land deck. So
yeah.
It's pretty needy to have the right answers at the right time, but once you do, the matchup should be quite okay.
Yeah, the Titan deck just kind of fumbles and stumbles all over itself because the cards aren't that efficient on their own.
It's a bit difficult to play against the Omnath deck in general because they have a lot of 0-mana interaction spell that you all play around. So for example, a Subtlety is pretty good at dealing with Primeval Titan, especially once it was fetched up with Summoner's Pact. Because then it actually may be the case that you have to pay for Pact and cannot play the Titan again. Sometimes maybe you play your last bounce land to make the mana for Titan, but then don't have the mana again on your next turn. So it is pretty interesting, and Yorion plays 80 cards, so there are many different scenarios and gameplay sequences.
The games are definitely gonna, play out in a different way more often than not with Yorion decks, given the 80 card nature of the deck. That being said, we see a turn 1 Urza Saga kind of, either a way to get an early Amulet into play from the Titan side, or, in this case, just delaying the Urza Saga getting eaten up by its Saga ability by bouncing it back to hand with its Simic Growth Chamber. Turn 2, 1/1 flyer for Victor Bunza as he plays his third land and passes the turn back, and now we're all caught up. Turn 3 for Levin.
And this could be just an Explorer to play more lands, which makes much more sense than just playing Tireless Tracker on an empty board without any land drop. And for whatever reason, there's a tapped castle because you don't have the basic land type, which is kind of needy, yeah? But makes next turn, if you have the land, enough mana for Primeval Titan. So that could be huge if you just want to run it into your opponent's mana. Also, one advantage of open decklist is you have to look at 80 cards, not like 60. Your opponent has to memorize more cards.
That's very funny. That's a great advantage of playing Yorion.
But to be fair, on the other side, you have a downside because your deck list is bigger, so you have more room for making deck list errors when you hand in your deck list. So
the meta game of writing your own deck list. Castle Garenbrig, a castle that was kind of, it feels like it was designed for Titan. Hey, here's 6 mana for 5 to deploy your 6-drop green creature. Almost too much on the head there. The synergy with Titan. And I mean, Victor is surely aware that Levin is looking to deploy the Titan next turn, probably.
And depending on the configuration of the deck, there's not much you can do. A lot of those decks bring dress down from the sideboard, so that's actually quite a neat answer to Primeval Titan, at least for one turn, and then you can get rid of it with Subtlety. And if I'm not mistaken, this is exactly what's lined up here. Pretty good. Yep, we see 2 dress downs, 1 Subtlety. So you could cast Titan. It's gonna be quite rough if you're gonna pack for Titan, because then
you give up so much of your time, right?
Well, you also gave up some of the game because you can't really like pay for the pact in a longer time. You basically lose the game. That's what I was saying. Yes.
Why is that? Why can't you pay? Oh, because the Urza Saga is you can.
No, you can pay, but then you just don't do anything again.
Yeah, you do.
You're right with the time, but it's kind of translate to the point where you're losing the game.
Yeah. So now this Tireless Tracker, kind of a middle ground between the all-in of the Titan and the no threat of a simple passing of the turn. The middle ground being this Tireless Tracker now generating value. Interestingly enough, Victor Bunza not deciding to subtlety that. And now Levin is off to the races, generating clues, kind of, finding his way around, trying to find out who will win this match.
Do you know those clues?
I
were
do.
borrowed by Simon.
I do. They were drawn by Simon as the Unholy Heat takes out the Tireless Tracker. A nice 2-for-1 for Levin, but Primeval Titan decks don't win by grinding out 2-for-1s one by one. Primeval Titan decks win by resolving Primeval Titan.
Wow, deep.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I'm known for, the deep knowledge inside games of Magic the Gathering. As we head back into Victor's turn, turn 5. Now, if there's an Omnath available, which I'm not sure about, he could have an Omnath turn where he deploys Omnath, cracks a fetch land, and adds 4 mana. Is that the kind of thing he's interested in right now?
Not really. You kind of want to not lose against Primeval Titans, so you're choosing always the route where you have dress down at your disposal. So I can see playing Teferi here, just making use of your opponent not being able to maybe have some instant shenanigans. Ooh, you can bounce the Saga, so you prevent him from getting the amulet just right next turn, which is also a great interaction because Teferi doesn't reference non-land permanents. He specifies what you can bounce. Since he also says enchantment, you can bounce also Saga. And that's quite important.
And now Levin's hand is stacked with lands.
Stacked, yes. Oh, here we see another funky addition. One of the Eldrazi lands that makes colorless.
Yeah, Crumbling Vestige.
But adds a colored mana once it comes into play, which basically is 2 mana once you have an amulet in play. And Primeval Titan doesn't do anything.
Well, it doesn't do anything right now, but now Dress Down leaves the battlefield, so Primeval Titan regains all those abilities, and Victor will need a way to deal with it. However, we already see a Solitude hiding away in Victor's hand, so that Primeval Titan will not be for long.
But getting life back, you gain 6 life, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, when your opponent's clock involves 2 1/1s, 6 life is a huge chunk of life. And I think that's the thing that keeps Levin firmly in this game. Like, there's no pressure. He can, we're trading blows here, but there's no pressure being applied. There's no game-ending threat on the table. There's no, locking people out. If Levin draws a Cavern of Souls, he can get around the counter spells. If Levin, just draws another Primeval Titan, if that one resolves, of course, right now there's the counter spell, he can grind out some value. This is shaping up to be a bit of a longer game so far, unless there's some sort of pressure being added anytime soon. But right now, we're resolving an expressive iteration.
And part of this turn needs to be dealing with the Primal Titan, which I think is only one option of Solitude. And then you do have another Dress Down and another counter spell, so you're kind of safe against the next Titan.
Yeah, you're safe specifically against the combos of Titan, right? Because both of those cards very nice at preventing yourself from being comboed out, but not so great at generating value, pressuring your opponent, all of like playing the long game. That being said, Levin also didn't take the biggest measures so far to kind of grind out value. No Urza Saga token generated so far. That's one of the easy ways to grind with these decks. Just make use of your Urza Saga. Your opponent is going to have to spend resources on dealing with them. But maybe that's something we'll see starting next turn, as probably Levin has the larger scale decision to make between pacting for another Titan or playing the long game and going for the Saga tokens.
Many different difficult decisions in those 80 card piles. A lot of your cards are very efficient. A lot of your spells are very good. So it's kind of like playing, it is a misrange deck, but it's kind of playing like a legacy deck to that sense that you have so many different options of playing your spells, sequencing your spells, choosing the fixing. Here we see Traverse into the Overwolf, having Delirium, so you kind of also have to know what to fetch in your 80 card deck. At this point, it's gonna be Solitude, saying, okay, I didn't have a Solitude, I need to find a Solitude, so I have the answer. We know this is not correct.
Yeah.
We know Victor is actually pretending to this be the only option he has, but in reality, there's a second one hiding in his hand. And now he's gonna play Solitude.
Wait.
Well, eventually.
Okay, yeah.
He says there's no way that you're gonna interact with my instant Solitude, which would be funny to add to like a hexproof spell.
Yeah. Suddenly blossoming defense or something popping up. But yeah, both players operating on a very high resource count right now. Both players' hands pretty stacked. And yeah, I guess actually any hexproofing wouldn't even be possible through the Teferi. So Victor doesn't only guess that there is no interaction for the Solitude, he's certain. So now Levin is opting for the kind of slower game plan of, creating a construct token, getting some value. That construct will soon become a 2/2 as soon as that second artifact enters the battlefield. And then there's another Urza Saga in hand that can start generating tokens as soon as early as next turn. Levin checking his hand. Is he now? His big question is there going to be an amulet, or he's hovering Expedition Map? Expedition Map pretty nice because it gets you Cavern of Souls, which prevents any future counterspell shenanigans.
Yeah, and at that point, the only thing that can really interact with the Titan is Dress Down. One of the Dress Downs is already gone, but then we know one of the other Dress Downs is in your opponent's hands, which, they're playing an 80 card deck, feels kind of unlucky.
So now we go through the motions of announcing combat, and Victor, of course, having to evoke the Solitude.
Getting back all the life you're basically down with your 1/1/5.
Yeah, that clock, that Lingering Souls clock is very slow. It's ticking at, it's like when you're sitting in class and it's really boring. That's the kind of clock that these two 1/1 flyers present right here. Tick, tock, so slow. I think we're still in the beginning of combat right here, as maybe we are in the beginning of combat, and Victor decides either to Solitude or to Dress Down.
Yeah, I think what the idea is actually really thinking about Dress Downing, as then you would be able to hardcast Solitude on the next turn.
Yeah.
But I think that should not be the consideration.
Yeah, that would also involve losing your Teferi. Because just because a creature is dressed down, it doesn't lose power or toughness, it just loses its abilities. So yeah, Victor going for the Solitude, Levin back up to 19 as we head into Victor's turn. Another Solitude. Victor feeling good here. I mean, there's another dress down, there's another Solitude. Things don't seem to be going so bad, but that might all change very quickly as soon as like they're...
The Fire Nation attacks. Oh, sorry.
Might also change quickly when the Fire Nation attacks, but what I was referring to is a Primeval Titan not even attacking, but just entering the battlefield without a dress down. So yeah, Levin will have to resolve at least 2 more Titans here, because otherwise, yeah, the Solitude and the dress down do a great job of dealing with the Titans. But once he does that, he might be good. He might still, you know, edge out a win out of this game.
Unfortunately, dress down also returns, gets sacrificed at the end of turn. Otherwise, you could maybe do some tricks with Teferi bouncing the dress down, but
yeah, you have to flash in the dress down in response to the Titan, of course. So now, what's the line that you think Levin should go down here? Should he try as hard as possible to resolve a Titan? Should he I saw a Dryad of the Nielsen Grove in his hand. Should he try to maybe manually ramp by playing lots of lands?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult at this point to play your deck correctly, because it depends so much on what your opponent is bringing as a deck and from the sideboard. So, for example, alone the Summoner's Pack give you so many options of what you can search for and cast, and you have another Saga in hand.
Oh, so that was not only a Titan hand, that was also a Cultivator Colossus. So we're going to see a Cultivator Colossus, and that's similar to Titan, right? You have to dress down that.
Yes. Like, ish. You kind of have to, but we know that the hand is not really land-heavy stacked, but it's probably too dangerous to let it happen. Because what it basically reads is you end the turn with no lands in hand.
Yeah.
And you draw a card, at least for each land, plus many more for each of the top cards of your library, which you cannot let it happen.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to see another dress down probably here. Cultivator Colossus also has a sweet synergy with bounce lands, where you have to resolve the trigger all at once, but then you end your turn with your important lands back in your hand. But you can even put in your like Talaria West or something, and then just bounce it back to your hand later on.
So my question is now, is the Cultivator Colossus a giant? Because it doesn't read like a giant.
Yeah, because if it is, then Cavern of Souls makes both Titan and Cultivator Colossus uncounterable. But as it's
on the Cavern of Souls, that's huge.
Yeah, but Cultivator Colossus is in fact not a giant; it's a plant beast.
Beast, yes, okay. So that actually makes your Titans counterable again.
Yeah, so that kind of gives Victor another angle of interacting with your creature spells, because not another angle, but like another piece of interaction, because there is that counterspell lingering in hand that was kind of useful against the Cavern of Souls, but it has become useful now with the Cavern of Souls being gone. So yeah, Victor can now get back into his comfortable position of attacking for 2 and passing the turn, and doesn't have to worry about dying to Titan. Cycling Abundant Growth, very nice, especially because there's still the Yorion in the Companion Zone, and Teferi on board, which can both, kind of draw some value out of the fact that Abundant Growth draws a card when it enters the battlefield. So Victor right now sitting pretty, but he can't just, sit back and enjoy it, because he has to put on pressure at some point, because otherwise Levin is just going to play lands and take over the game that way.
Yeah, but one of the neat defensive interactions we see here as a possibility is getting Bujeru back with Renin 6. That means you can deal with Cavern of Souls at all times, just not the ones that were put onto play right now.
Yeah.
But you can also deal with bounce lands, you can deal with amulet, and I'm like fairly sure that this is going to be a very resourceful option throughout all the matches, because those lands are really annoying, but you can also destroy Valakutes once they're there.
Yeah. And I mean, in theory.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, this is instantly gone. Very, very neatly saved or drawn.
Yeah. Otherwise, destroying one land per turn. I don't know how many basic lands Levin runs off the top of my head. You can look that up on Cardmarket Insight. All top 8 deck lists are published there. But yeah, taking out one non-basic a turn, replacing it by a basic will only go well for so long.
I think Berserker gets you any land.
Or any land with a basic land type.
Yeah, so you do have some maybe duels.
Yeah.
Not quite sure. I'm pretty sure Amulet doesn't play that many duels as well. So you probably run out of lands fairly quickly.
There is not a lot of basic land types in that deck list.
So you basically play a forest?
I mean, we see at least 2 in play.
Ah, right. It doesn't mention the basic lands, right? Yes. That was one of the funny stories from round 2, that Levin and his opponent got a deck check and game loss at the same time.
Oh, because they didn't. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but they were at it, and this is fine.
All right. So, moving forward, Levin taken care of that Boseiju, because that would have been really scary.
I think you're running out of time here. Your opponent is building up board states with Teferian, Renin 6, collecting a pretty good hand, valuing, like, through your turns, you can return the triumphs to cycle again. I'm not quite sure. We know that the hand has at least one more counterspell.
Yeah.
And a Solitude. So you're covered on, like, many bases. And yes, the killing actually is somewhat of a challenge.
Yeah, it really is. But at some point, the board just becomes too much to overtake, right? Like, a Titan turn can be so explosive, but even then, it will, what I'm trying to say is, I would take 10 free turns for the Omnath player over 1 Titan turn for the Titan player right now. Of course, depending on the setup, Titan might just instantly kill you, but in general, I think Victor can build up a very solid board state over the turn, over the turns that he has been granted.
You probably want to, like, find an Omnath and cast it. So at this point, you're at least doing a lot of things while you're defending and not only just attacking with 2/1/1s. All right, draw, return fetch land. This makes Relic activate. That's an iteration. What are we gonna find? Renin 6, Omnath, and another Omnath.
Yeah, all right. So Omnath is kind of the pressure that you need, right? I mean, that thing can deal up to 8 damage a turn by attacking and then triggering. So with that counter spell in hand, it's going to be very difficult for Levin to set up a good turn next turn. And then afterwards, it's almost already game over, right? Where Renin 6 can ultimate on 6 or 7.
Did you play itself down to 1 mana?
That might be bad.
No, there's a fetch land. Okay, great. Oh, even a fetch land. Beautiful.
Yeah, Renin 6 ultimates at 7 mana, so as soon as that happens, things get really bad, because at that point you can retrace counterspell. But even beforehand, like, this Omnath is going to put on a lot of pressure.
What you gonna do with the 4 mana?
Something impactful, hopefully.
At least return Yorion.
Yeah, at the very least do that. But yeah, this game too is not looking too good for Levin here. First of those 4 mana spent on Abundant Growth.
I think the start from Levin wasn't the best, so that he gotten a little punished by not putting up any amulets. He basically went land go, bounce land go, and then there was no additional land drop, really, no threatening Titan. The deck can definitely do better.
Yeah, for sure, and it can definitely also be more explosive.
Here's what actually happens. The Abundant Growth is not actually on the land, it's the land itself. So you can see on top they replace the lands,
the basics,
they enchant. So each Abundant Growth actually represents one of the manas you're using.
So we are still firmly in counterspell range here, and that's what's important for Victor. Not to open himself up to any resolved Primeval Titan anytime soon.
Oh, and also a Force of Vigor. But was that? No. That doesn't work, right? Or he cast it for mana.
No, he.
Maybe. Yeah, I think they realize now that.
Okay. It doesn't work that. You can only pay the alternative cost on the forces once it's your opponent's turn, not during your own turn, and I think they will just get that cleared up with a judge right now, because that is kind of an illegal game action that you can't take.
And that is an illegal game action, which we do not choose to take.
Yeah,
on Cardmarket.
On Cardmarket, we rarely choose illegal game actions. Dare I say never.
Well, to be fair, in the last video, I kind of made 1 extra mana of guessing what my opponent played, and they drew 7 cards. So
true. If you want to go watch that video, it's on YouTube right now.
It's beautiful. Monoblutron against red equipment. Watch it. It's a doozy.
All right. So now Levin has to pay for his pact, kind of spending another turn doing nothing. Activating a relic takes care of the non-land card in the graveyard, which makes sense since Ren and 6 can only pick up lands. Urza Saga being picked up again, and at this point, the things Levin is doing are just too slow, too little, too late.
I'm pretty sure that would be too late for a sealed deck or something.
Oh wow, that's a bold claim.
You basically just skipped your turn and returned the land to your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't get your amulets going, your additional land drops, and your opponent has an answer for everything you do, it turns out you actually don't win.
Yeah.
Who would have known?
It feels like Levin might have missed an opportunity to be more aggressive with his threats, because there are a lot of threats in his hand, but there really wasn't that much time for him to spend all that much mana. And so it feels like one of those weird games where you don't quite know where you should have done something different, but maybe there was an opportunity to get a Titan going that actually did something.
I think the best and most easiest way to look at something different was the starting hand. I'm not an amulet expert or good at playing amulet or decent at playing amulet, any of those, but I'm pretty sure that starting hand was at least a good consideration worth it. And now you're just gonna deal the last points of damage through damage and Omnath and Yorion.
And all the good stuff.
Chuk, 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 chuk.
Not exiling the Ren and 6. We don't want to lose that 7 loyalty right there.
Yeah, but those lands are gonna come back.
So now Abundant Growth is gonna draw 2 additional cards when they re-enter the battlefield. Teferi is going to start out with 4 loyalty again. Omnath is going to draw another card. So do the Ice Fang.
Casual drawing 5 cards.
Yeah. 5 mana, 4/5, draw.
Look, 5. Those 5 cards I'm drawing.
I see another Ren and 6, but we already know that there's a counterspell hiding alongside those. So, I mean, Victor was safe before. Drawing additional cards is just kind of, safety. And Levin deciding to crack the relic, as this will probably be Levin's final turn.
So I wonder if the matchup actually gets much better after boarding, because I'm pretty sure Victor also lost the first game against Amulet and then won 2 in a row.
Yeah, in the quarters, you mean?
Here also losing the first game, obviously, and then winning the second one. Maybe boarding in more interaction in form of counterspell, dress downs. That actually, dress down makes the difference.
Yeah.
If there wouldn't have been a dress down, the Titans would have looked for lands. Everything would have gotten out of control.
Certainly, the game would have been very, very, very different. So, I mean, Levin knows it's on now. Like, if not this turn, then never.
My
So
bet would be on never. Like, if it's now or never, it's really never. Which is a bad position to be in, because, like, never is a long time.
Yeah, never is a long time to wait for. Okay, tireless tracker probably not gonna cut it.
We still have some long game plans here.
Tireless tracker probably not gonna cut it this turn. Is there already a Titan hand?
I'm not sure, but I'm really enjoying this. It's like people are bringing a gunfight, and you're choosing like
a tireless tracker, a slingshot.
A slingshot. Yeah.
Let's see if that so Levin smartly floating 6 mana of the castle, because you can spend that on any creature spell. Wait, if Levin floated mana, how is that Solitude in play? Did Levin not float mana? Not entirely. How is that solid?
It's goes cast.
Oh, okay.
Just
in response to the trigger, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. I didn't see the land being in play already. Yeah, so now Levin's just gone through the motions. There's still 3 green mana floating that can only be spent on creatures. But even if the Dryad of the Ilsen Grove resolves, then you're down. Oh, there's an Azusa. If that one resolves, theoretically, you could maybe make something happen. I think I would have tapped the Urza Saga to cast that Dryad, because you do need the green mana to cast additional creatures like the Azusa. But I think Victor is just going to put a stop to this right now. Counterspell, and that's game 2, because that is a lethal attack. So Levin and Victor both picking up their cards as they head into game 3. Which, I mean, so far we've seen a lot of winning of the player that was on the play. Like, seriously, a lot. Earlier, I think I read that 5 of our top 8 matches were won by the player that was on the play in the match.
5 of 8.
Is it 8? I think it's 7, right?
5.
4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. 5 of our matches so far. So I think it's all of them, right? Yeah.
No, Simon. I mean, like on the play generally, yeah.
Yeah.
But Simon won a game on the draw.
Oh, no, it's not about games, it's about matches.
When you're on the play for the match.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So far, 5 matches were won on the back of being on the play in that match. And we'll see if that trend continues here, because Levin was on the play and is now on the play again for game 3 of the match. Remember, the winner of this match is going to advance into the finals against Simon Nielsen, who is on his crazy 4-color combo glimpse approach. And the loser, well, their run ends here. So, yeah, both of these players have to win this match to stay alive for the have to win this game to stay alive for the finals.
And hopefully Living can display more of a game that fits an Amulet style. Playing first turn Amulet, playing some of those incredibly strong extra land spells. Because once you give your opponent too much time, they're going to dress down, counterspell. They're going to answer your threats to the point where you don't really get something out of it. And Victor plays the Fairy and Ren and 6 and slowly but surely ramps up to a point where they cover everything. And you really want to prevent that. You really want to have a Titan that resolved at least once, get the Valakut going. Really get to a point where no matter what they do, you're going to get ahead out of the traders.
Yeah. All right. cut the decks, and we're off to the races. With Levin on the play, the dynamic is obviously going to be a bit different, where, an early Amulet of Vigor can change things up a lot. I see a Cultivator Colossus. I see a Mulligan from Levin's side.
Yeah, that was not good in any direction. No Amulet, no something that gets Amulet. One bounce land and something else. You really, really want to have something that's cohesive.
Yeah, and you really don't want the four color deck to to allow the 4-color deck to set up a base of things to do. I mean, cards like Counterspell are fairly, I'll say, clunky, costing 2 mana. Dress Down also 2 mana. So if you can get something going before those cards are kept up by your opponent, then that would be ideal.
Hits the bottom. I think here we have again one of those Slayer Stronghold bounce land starts.
Yeah.
That are a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, at the same time, you will have the Slayer Stronghold in your hand for later use.
And you do have an Explorer.
Yeah. At the same time, this does feel like one of those slower starts from Levin again. I'm not saying he should have mulliganed down to 5. No, because
you have to keep.
You have to keep those 6, but it's not the ideal start you want to have.
I think what you need now is actually just get to the 6 mana, because you do have Cavern, you do have Titan. You want to catch your opponent off guard. Hopefully they don't have a Dress Down, and then from there just ride the advantage. It's not that likely that your opponent has a Dress Down, given their 80 cards, and they're probably like 2 or 3 of in the side.
Yeah, exactly.
We know, I think there's one in hand.
Is there? That would once again be huge to buy time for Victor, because for Levin to assemble 1 Titan, you can do that, right? But to assemble a 2nd Titan, it usually takes a lot of time to cast a Summoner's Pact, pay for that pack, like stuff like that. Maybe you got your first Titan off a Summoning Pact.
There's a Dress Down. We can confirm a Dress Down.
Alright, so Dryad of the Ilsen Grove right now sitting on 4 mana. If Levin has 2 untapped lands next turn, he can cast an uncounterable Titan, because we know there is a Cavern of Souls as one of those lands.
So now you actually have to decide. Technically, next turn, your opponent could already cast a Primeval Titan. The good part is, they don't, if you deal with the Dryad, Levin actually doesn't have double green. So the 1 land in his deck that would actually ramp from 4 to 6 mana is not applicable.
Yeah.
So I think that pretty much excludes a Titan not giving like amulets.
No, wait, but the Dryad allows for an extra land drop.
No, if you remove the Dryad.
Oh, yeah.
Like let's say you now play Teferi and bounce the Dryad, which is one of the plays that are possible for Victor. You can almost securely say that there's not going to be a Titan, which makes this play infinitely much better than the other side where there could be.
Yeah.
Also, at the same time, you cannot really let Levin untap with the Dryad anyway. So you do have to get rid of those Dryads at one way or another, and this way is Prismatic Ended. All right.
Levin double checking that Victor does have 3 colors of mana available, and that red and 6 putting in work to gain value for Victor here, supplying him with a steady stream of fetchable lands. Is that Tireless Tracker back for round 2?
I think it's just an Explorer.
Almost.
Tracker would have been so good, but
Relic of Progenitus, at least that slows down the Ren and 6, and there is still 1 mana floating.
Yeah, you're gonna cast that. You're gonna play the Slayer Stronghold.
So now this is the first land drop, and this is the second. Do you think playing out the Cavern here is correct, or would you rather, slow ball it and keep it back in case of a Boseiju?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? If that trick makes your opponent not leave mana open for dress down. You could get them by casting Titan then. I don't think this is happening either way. So even if you have 5 mana and your opponent goes like, but what if they go Cavern or Green Source Titan, then I do want to have that card open, and that fear is in your head.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose to that. So they're going to keep the mana open anyway, and at that point, you just wasted a land drop. What can be quite reasonably to assess now is, since Levin did play the Cavern, you can exclude there's any other land in his hand.
Yeah.
Because that's almost surely, besides maybe the Teleria West, the last point of land you want to play, given also the point that it can then be Buzeud, which you really don't want to happen.
All right, and Victor really caring about the recursion of his lands, aiming for a prismatic ending on that Relic of Progenitus, which is a 2-for-1 in itself, right? The Relic cycles, you spent a card on the prismatic ending. But Victor's saying, I want those recursive lands off my Renin 6, so yeah, let's get that Relic out of here before fetching.
Which also should give a decent amount of your opponent's hand, because that means there's probably not going to be any land additionally to the one you just returned in his hand. Endurance, yeah, not quite great. I mean, you have Titan mana, it's uncounterable. What you gonna do, right?
Yeah, you kind of just have to hope that there's no dress down available. But there is
Ding.
dress down being cast. Titan gonna do nothing. And now, do we know if there's an answer for the Titan? Is there like a Solitude?
There's a Teferi that can bounce it.
All right,
not the greatest solution. There is, I don't see much more, to be honest.
Another dress down, jeez.
Well, in combination with Teferi, that at least buys you a little bit of time.
Yeah,
actually, that buys you so much time that you can ultimate the Renin 6 if you want to.
Jeez, those dress downs coming in clutch.
And I think that's the only... I think that's the only way of interacting with it at this given point in time.
Yeah. Okay, so you have to Teferi, right? You have to Teferi plus dress down.
If this is your only choice, yes.
And then Renin 6 Ultimate can, it can be very useful, like especially with the prismatic ending already on the board, in the graveyard, you can,
That's a counter spell, that doesn't help.
It doesn't help against the Cavern. And Levin won't believe his eyes when there's another dress down once again, because in total there's 2 dress downs, one in the main deck, one in the sideboard, and they are being drawn like crazy. Victor drawing a dress down, and the second dress down just in time to deal with the redeployed Titan off of Levin's side. But Levin taking things slow and first casting a Soul Guide Lantern, which will... Oh, never mind. He just already set that mana aside. He's going for the Titan. Second dress down. That's the last one for the game. And that's a Soul Guide Lantern that can now potentially mess with Victor's future Renin 6 activations.
And I think so far there is no answer for that Titan. You still have to draw something that makes this Titan not attack. Because once it attacks, it never goes back.
Toffle. All right.
For more cool things, follow my Instagram.
Toffle doesn't have an Instagram, but Cardmarket does have an Instagram where you can get exclusive looks behind the scenes, in our stories and the posts. of what's going on here at Spielfilm Musik for Matthäus Modern Monday Showdown, a tournament where it's basically the final of a league that has been going on for the past few weeks here in Berlin. Modern players have gathered, you would have guessed it, on Mondays to battle it out, and the best performers of that league over the past few weeks have gathered today, and we as Cardmarket have decided to throw a few pros into the mix there. We added Andrea Mangucci, Simon Nielsen, and Eli Lavman all competing today. Only Simon Nielsen remaining of those, waiting for the winner of this match in the finals. So now Titan sitting pretty in play, but I think this is Solitude. No, this is an Endurance.
Wow, really valuing the ability to not remove the graveyard highly. Crazy. So that means there's something he wants to protect.
Wait,
Ren 6 only counts for instance and sorcery.
Yeah, it gives retrace. No, but the Endurance...
But not to the dress down.
Wait, okay, what happened here?
The Endurance hit the Soul Guide Lantern. And I think Levin is checking the same thing.
How did the Endurance hit the Soul Guide Lantern? Am I missing something?
The Force of Vigor was cast, targeting the Soul Guide Lantern. Not Endurance, sorry.
Okay,
And
okay. Force. I thought that was an Endurance for some reason. Okay, yeah.
No. Ooh, still not an answer. Wow, is this actually just gonna be enough?
Wow.
The third Titan is charm?
Honestly, if your opponent dresses you down and then you just try again and dress down and you try again, at some point it's gonna stick.
Yeah. If dress down is the best answer, yeah, but we see Counterspell.
Chad pointing out that I was mistaken. It's not an Endurance.
No, yeah, I said Endurance, not you. It's my fault.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
So good. But yeah, if there's still no answer to that Titan will go crazy. And there's no limiting of Levin's lands available right now. So Levin can do whatever his deck allows him to do at that point. And that can go crazy in the Amulet deck sometimes. Like, depending on your setup, you can do wild things with Valakut, with Sunhome, Boris Garrison.
One more draw. Right?
Oh yeah, right. The draw of the Omnath.
Or did this already happen?
I think it already happened, yeah.
Alright, one more draw.
That's what I always say. One more.
It's Prismatic Ending?
It's Prismatic Ending, yeah. It's a white card for sure, and it's not a Solitude, I don't think.
I don't mind putting the Abundant Growth instead of the lands. I do mind mixing those things. Because now it's like not consistent.
Yeah, not at all.
In like 2 and 3 mana.
Alright, we put in Yarion into our hands. We are ticking up to Fairy. And we're passing the turn to an Amulet Titan player, untapping with a Titan on board that's about to hit the red zone.
No, do your worst. Okay. Red and 6, Embleming. Which is quite a neat emblem. Let's imagine you draw Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolts can be quite potent.
Lightning Bolt.
You do have a counterspell in hand, so you can pretty much deal with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but you know what counterspell doesn't prevent?
Uncountable giants?
Uncounterable giants, as well as triggers of those giants and triggers of the lands that giant gets. Now, Levin will not go completely crazy because there's no amulet in play, right?
Right, and unfortunately also for Levin, he can't activate the Slayer Stronghold because he's missing red and white to do that. You could get one of those colors with the Tolarian Academy.
Tolaria West?
Yeah, not Academy, but yeah, Tolaria West you just drew. But you can get them with the Titan, but then it's unfortunately too late.
Yeah, and without an amulet in play, of course, like lands like Boris Garrison enter tapped, so no red and white mana available quite this turn.
Is this actually? Yes. Oh, well played. So this was actually the whole convoluted plan of playing Force of Vigor in the end step to get rid of the Soul Guide Lantern, so you can sculpt your graveyard to hit the delirium
Oh.
to make Traverse get a solitude, and now you can actually get that solitude over and over again because it has retrace.
No, it doesn't.
The Traverse, yes.
Oh, the Traverse. Yeah. You don't get the same solitude, but you do get.
That was a majorly smart setup.
Yeah, and now because there's no double blue available for Victor right now, Levin does have the opportunity to cast that Endurance to shuffle Victor's graveyard back in to prevent those retrace shenanigans.
Also making use of Teferi, casting an instant. It's great.
And I think Levin's just taking a bathroom break. You know, in those matchups, we all have been playing for like an hour or something. You've got to sometimes just take a bathroom break.
Yeah,
and if you want to do the same at home, please do so.
I mean, it's really, really hot, especially inside.
Yeah.
So you're transpiring a lot. I think that's the word. So that means you got to drink a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Body mechanics.
It leads to bathroom breaks. Also, for everyone watching at home, remember to hydrate. It's important.
Yeah.
To keep your body healthy.
Redeem the Cardmarket points.
Yeah, redeem the Cardmarket channel points to hydrate. We do so here in our studio sometimes too. We hope nobody notices at home, but we have to take a sip of water then and again because it is pretty hot here in Berlin, where this tournament is being played at the Spielfilmmusik. It's an LGS in Berlin. It's a bit outside of the center of Berlin. If you want to check it out and see where the Matthäus Modern Monday Showdown took place, you can come here. Any day of the... No, I think Tuesdays they're closed, but Spielfilmmusik, pretty nice LGS to hang out at if you're in Germany and Berlin.
And let's rethink that awesome like line of play again. I'm pretty sure that Traverse was then in his hand the whole time, and he knew he's got to protect it because the Titan is coming. So you got to make sure you have Delirium, which is not only setting up all the card types you need to have, right? Land, sorcery, instant, creature, I think it was, something like that. You also have to make sure that the Lantern is gone, which was secured by the Force of Vigor at the end of turn. And then it really, really looked like, I mean, even to us, that there was no answer for the Titan. He was looking like fiercely for any card that could deal with it. But in the end, the instant speed traverse from the Teferi, look for Solitude, and now you can replay all your cards from your graveyard with each land drop again and again. Pretty sick.
Yeah, I mean, from now on, it's really about finding an impactful spell for Victor. We know about... Is the counterspell still in hand? It is.
Yes,
yeah, it is. So that one can be retraced. Of course, the most important draw from Levin's side here would be a Titan.
Yeah, that's pretty much also the only draw that matters, I would say. Because your opponent has infinite counterspells. I think, actually that's not true, I think Levin has another Cavern of Souls in hand.
Yeah, so any creature, like a Tireless Tracker could be nice. Funnily enough, to resolve,
before.
You have to play the land before resolving the Tireless Tracker.
Look, now you can return the lands to play the spells every turn. Yeah, this is gonna look great. If not this draw step is an exactly a Titan or a Cultivator Colossus, pretty sure we're gonna end up having Victor being the second finalist next to Simon.
Which would be a 4-color mirror match, but one of them does crazy stuff.
Yeah. Omnath definitely kind of dominating the whole tournament and the 2-8.
Another counterspell being picked up alongside...
That's a pact.
Oh, pact! That's not good enough!
Yeah. Counterspell. It's not a Titan.
Yeah,
it's not a giant. You cannot make it uncomfortable. Even if you had the other Buzeju.
So at this point, it becomes a game of... Oh no, actually, never mind. There is another cavern.
Yeah, but now you also have to pay for the pact. So.
No, you don't.
Oh no, it was countered.
It was countered.
You're right. Good catch. So, but even now, I think a Titan just doesn't do it.
Yeah, this might just...
9.
Yeah. Once again, like Victor has had so much time setting up his board state that a single Titan does not overpower it anymore. Like, Victor just has all the answers available, and yeah, sure, go ahead, have your Titan. I'll remove it afterwards, and then...
To be fair, drawing both of the dress downs in your 80 card deck is a pretty skilled thing. You know, a strong magician at this point.
those dress downs certainly put in huge amounts of work this game.
Arguably, the only way he won the game.
Yeah, this and the last game actually, both featuring 2 dress downs.
But to be fair, also well played, faking out the lines.
Yeah, especially the line with Traverse the Ovenwald was a nice multi-turn setup thing.
Just making sure, that you have every base covered. It's not quite about winning soon. It's about winning safely.
Yeah. And you only need like 2 more turns. It's another Ice Fang Quattl. That's a Renin 6 activation. And that's a passing of the turn to Levin, who knows that most of his spells will be getting countered. So will that Tireless Tracker be. And he concedes, extending the hand, and that means we have 4-color Omnath midrange facing off against 4-color Omnath crazy midrange in the finals. In the hands of Simon Nielsen. Which, it'll be kind of a mirror match, but not quite.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Because Simon's deck just goes wild. Like, it does have that main, like, the solid mid-range game plan. It can play that, but it can also just play that completely other game plan that we've seen him do multiple times today already, where he just cycles through his deck with the glimpses. That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I think we got the maximum amount of glimpse action today.
Yeah. Hopefully there's gonna be one final boom of glimpse.
Yeah.
No matter how it turns out. But I'm pretty sure Victor has his own means of drawing dress down. Dress down very good against the glimpse deck.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a very tight match.
Yeah. So before we head into the break, before the final, let's take a look at the updated bracket. Because our top 8 has been going on for like the past 2 hours already. So let's take a look at the bracket. We see, starting out in our top 8, we had Andrea Mengucci and Simon Nielsen both made it from our, kind of pro section. We had a fairly diverse metagame that we already had during the Swiss rounds. Namely, Vivian combo, which is also a 4-color Omnath variation just with the Vivian combo. The 5-color Zoo deck, Merfolk. The 4-color Glimpse deck that we will see in the finals. Alongside 2 copies of Amulet Titan and Enchantress deck that was very interesting, but unfortunately taken out by the Amulet Titan deck. And then also 1 basic version of the 4-color Omnath deck. So, with that bracket being taken a look at, this was the semifinals from Matteo's Modern Monday Showdown covered by Cardmarket. We will see you on the other side of this break with the finals between Simon Nielsen playing crazy 4-color mid-range combo and Victor Bunzer playing regular 4-color.
Yeah.
See you then.